Welcome to episode 89 of the Broadway Shuffle. Wherever you may be, we are glad you are here listening to the show. Today, we are going to get into secondary. We're going to continue our position preview series for the football team. We're also going to get into special teams. I know that a lot of people out there, especially Conrad, are very excited to talk kickers and punters, but we're covering all bases here on the Broadway Shuffle. And hey, if this is your first time listening, we're so glad you're here. We've got Conrad, Clayton, and Zyler here today, all four of us. And if you're a regular subscriber, appreciate you being here again on the show. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. Conrad, we're going to go to you with the first word, man. What is your first word today on the Broadway Shuffle?
I know that we are getting closer and closer to football season, so my first word is ecstatic. I am ecstatic about this football season. I really don't know that there's been a football season like this for Texas Tech. I mean, the amount of money that's been invested, the amount of talent you have, the new coaches, the new, still second year of the South End Zone. So I'm just ecstatic for this football season. I think this is going to be a year that you're going to want to tune into every single game because I think you're going to see something pretty special. So that's my first word of the day, ecstatic. Would y'all disagree with that first word? Would you maybe tell me to temper my expectations a little bit? Because I mean, we're getting closer and closer, and the Kool-Aid factory is getting ready to open up again.
We can never tell you to temper your expectations, man. You wouldn't listen, even if we did. So no,
that's very
love
true.
The word.
This season's going to be exciting regardless of how it goes. I mean, I think you're going to have a lot of eyeballs on you. You're going to have some haters, which is what we've been needing. We've been needing more haters to tune into the games. If this goes really well, it's going to be electric. It's going to be an electric factory. I mean, it's just going to be an elite defense, high-flying offense. It's going to be awesome. And if it goes badly, it is going to be must-watch television. I mean, either way, you're going to get entertained. So tune in for all the games. It's going to be a good time.
All the games and all the Broadway reaction shows, Conrad.
The reaction shows are great, but the preview shows are even better, especially when we play Colorado. But I will say at the same time, I do think that I don't know that Texas Tech fans as a whole, after our years of suffering, would necessarily be able to handle success with humility. Is that an overstatement or an understatement? How do you think the fan base would react to, let's say, a 11-1 and a trip to the Big 12 title game? How would we react as a whole?
We'll react like it's the first Big 12 title game that's ever been played in the history of the Big 12 Conference, and we're the only team that's ever made it. That's exactly how I expect us to react, and I'll be right there with everybody.
I agree. Yeah. I fully expect Clayton to be hanging from a street sign somewhere. Just like, he's going to be 2019. Yeah.
Yep.
It would be quite crazy, man. Like I said, Conrad, you're just really excited to talk kickers in secondary. You're ecstatic. You can't wait.
You need both of those. You need both of those to be really good to get to where you want to be. So I am ecstatic to talk about both of them.
We have seen how important special teams can be to a team's success or lack thereof at times too. So yes, Clay, that is important.
And shout out before we get in. Shout out to Jackie Fagan, Kenny Perry's wife. She's a listener to the show and had her on a few weeks ago, and so we're really excited to talk about Kenny's unit today here on the Broadway Shuffle.
We are,
and I actually have, and I'm excited to get at that. I have a lot of thoughts on the special team unit, and they're almost all positive. So excited to get into
that. Well, that's good to know.
So, Zyler, what you're saying is that if Kenny needs an assistant special teams coach, he can call you.
No. He's doing stuff that I would have never thought to do. I would be very just go for the extra point. Make sure you make it. Make sure you kick it out of the back of the end zone.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll get to it.
No. Sorry, Connor, that actually gave me a thought. I have a question. What position group do you feel like you could confidently coach on Tech's football team? Like if you had to walk into game one, where do you feel like I could make sure this isn't a complete dumpster fire? Like I could make this work. What position, or like, is it defense? Is it offense? Is it special teams? What do you think you could do? Clay, what do you think?
That's tough. I feel like maybe there can't be like a punter's coach, right? This just coaches, or is it all?
I don't think that's in the budget.
So I mean, I feel like every special teams kicker, like they know what they're doing by the time they get there. You're not doing like a special like field goal formation. They're just kicking. Same. I mean, punting is a little different. Like you have like the rollout like Aussie punters, and then you have normal.
Yeah.
Just let them do what they were
and
already
a
doing.
caveat, I feel like we would all say none of us would be confident doing any of these things. If I had to pick
for
a
sure.
non-special teams one, I think it'd be running back. Like, hey, man, when
Just
you
look
get
for
the
the hole.
ball, run fast. And I know there's so much more than that. But all the other positions, and I know that one with pass blocking concepts, they would just be way too complicated. I would not know what's going on. I would be completely out of my element.
Conrad, I feel like I know where
I'm
you're
sure
going.
Conrad has
Yeah,
several
I know
positions he
where
could coach.
Conrad's going, but
Yeah, I'm gonna coach the quarterbacks. Throw it to the guy wearing the same color jersey than you, and rinse and repeat the next play. So
yeah, I could have guessed that one. I don't know, man.
Go ahead, Brennan. Sorry.
Or I was gonna say, I feel like I could confidently coach the receivers. Like I feel like I could be like, hey man, you run a dig, step here, shake the guy off. I don't know. I feel like I could.
Get open.
Get open. That seems pretty easy. Use your athleticism, man. You've got it. I feel like it's not that hard.
You could be a pretty good blocking dummy for them.
That would be great.
That's where you
would
shine.
be able to. Yeah.
The problem is there's a sizable portion of the fan base that thinks this is actually how coaching works, where it's just like, hey man, just go make a play. It's not that hard. And there's so much nuance in the scheme with timing, route concepts. It's just like unbelievably complex. They spend years and years and years developing these plays, and then it gets blown up because a left guard doesn't pull appropriately, and it's like everybody looks stupid when it's one guy that messes something up. Coaching schemes is incredibly difficult. I've tried to read up and learn a lot on it, and I'm always blown away by how much goes into just installing like a base package of 12 plays. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I could coach the whole offense. I just could be like, Micah, what are you doing, dude?
You could be like a life coach for the wide receivers.
Coach. Yeah, it's like, man, I thought you were going to run a post and you ran a corner or a drag. Like what what those routes mean. I feel like I could use the vocabulary to get by for a game is all I'm saying.
Okay.
Next spring, when the stakes are lower, we should all go out to a practice, maybe somehow, some way get into a practice and be honorary coaches for a period, just one period, and see what happens.
A snowball's chance in hell they would ever let us be honorary coaches.
And if they did, we'd go 0-12 the next season.
Hey, I don't. No. I mean, just for a period, like one team period. You never know unless you ask.
What is the benefit?
Oh, content. That's the only benefit.
That's what Joey and the coaching staff care about.
Content.
Imagine anyway.
Wait, well,
I think it'd be hilarious.
I mean, they've had the celebrity also. If they let like me and Clayton against like Conrad, like coach the spring game, it's like the Eli Payton, like the Pro Bowl. You're saying like something where we get to coach the guys for
that would be epic,
like a 7-on-7 or something.
There's approximately like 1,000 people that would think
there.
that's interesting.
I don't even think half
probably
of our subscribers would find that interesting. But let us know.
I think people would laugh. I think it would be quality content. I believe in us. I think we could do it.
Submit a work order or something. I don't know. But reach out to your people. Okay, well let's get into, where are we?
The secondary. So Z, okay. Lots of guys. Like I'm looking at this list of names and I honestly forgot of how many people we not only Braylon Lux is gone, Jalen Peoples is gone, bye. Jordan Sanford is gone. But you added a ton. You're returning Mo Horn, you're returning Macho Stevenson, and obviously you added a ton. This was we talked on last show about not really feeling the need to add to the linebacker group, but your secondary you needed to add. You needed to add skill. Tell us about some of the guys we added. Give us the refresher on the portal haul, and then we'll get into some of the returners and expectations after that. Yeah, so there's kind of three distinct position groups that Tech will roll out in the secondary. So you've got your safeties, you got your field safety, and your boundary safety. They're also going to have what we knew as the star position. I don't remember the exact terminology that they'll describe it as. And then you'll have your two cornerbacks. So on the returning side, the projected starters per Joey at the beginning of June, Mo Horn actually held on to one of the starting spots. I know he was competing with Dante Balfour, who's a Charlotte transfer, played there for 2 years. Good player. Somebody that we brought in, 6'1", 185 pounds, 49 tackles last season. He's going to push and he's going to play. He's probably a third cornerback. On the other side, you brought in a transfer, Bryce Pollock. He's a Mississippi State transfer, true junior, 48 tackles last season, 9 pass breakups. He is a bona fide starter. He's going to be your best cornerback this season. This is a group that's really good run stopping. They're going to be really solid. They're going to be really physical. But proud of Mo Horn, 56 tackles last year, extremely experienced, the most experienced guy that you have returning. Really, it's him and Macho Stevenson that are returning for you at your cornerback position. And I know a lot of people remember Macho for the TCU game or the Arkansas game. I still like Macho. He's a young player. He's fast. He's got potential. And the coaching staff chose to retain him. There were plenty of DBs that didn't make it out of this spring with the House revenue cap, and he did. I trust our guys' talent evals. So I'm not giving up on Macho. I don't expect him to play a ton this year. He probably needs a little bit more seasoning. But the other guy that you'll be looking at here is Amir Boyd Matthews. He's kind of a lower upside prospect from UTEP. 4-game starter who appeared in 9 games last year, 16 tackles, did fine, graded out fine, but not necessarily a guy that I'm really looking for to start. The final piece that you'll notice in this cornerback room is Terrian Grant, really highly rated 4-star kid from Purdue. Didn't do a ton last year, more of a depth piece building for the future. Those are kind of the 5 guys that I expect to factor in, 6 if you include Macho at the cornerback position.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, this group is a very important group, going into 2025. We've talked a lot about which group is most important, least important. This is an area that you need to be better, obviously, next year. I mean, it doesn't take 4 podcasters to realize the defense was not great last year, and the big plays were in abundance against your defense. And so this is a group that you're hoping can come together and play really good football. Clay, looking at the new guys specifically, which one are you most excited about? I feel like Dante Balfour is kind of getting some of the most love. I mean, he was one of your first, but I also know that Bryce Pollock, is obviously the star of the class, as he was mentioning, getting the 12-game start at Mississippi State. But which guy here are you like really excited to see and that you think will make the biggest impact out of this group?
Yeah, I think it's definitely Bryce Pollock as far as the biggest impact. I definitely like the Terrian Grant ad as well. I'm kind of surprised that he wasn't really on the depth chart that Joey released. I think he was like listed 3rd string, which was surprising to me because he was like, I think pushing a 5-star as a high schooler. But I like that ad for the future. Like, if we can get him some reps this year. But to answer your question, I think Pollock is definitely the best player in this group and could potentially be one of the best players on the defense. I think him, Rodriguez, Bailey, and Hunter for my picks would be like the top 4 players on our defense. So I have pretty high expectations for him. Conrad, I don't know. What do you think? Who are you looking forward to the most out of this group?
I really don't know that there's one person. I mean, I will say I'm looking forward to seeing Mo Horn improve after all the reps he got last year. And he was a good piece for you last year. And just, obviously ACU game was a game of its own, but I think him having the whole year will pay dividends for you this year. For me, I think it's just the group as a whole. I mean, the group last year just was not very good. I mean, that's being nice, and they're great guys on the team. I mean, CJ, Jordan, different guys. I mean, Braylon. I mean, Braylon was a bright piece for you, but he still had some moments where
he was just hurt. He missed so many games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it's just like I just think it's the whole group that needs to be better collectively. I mean, they need to be, I mean, like we said on the last episode, we think that, this is our second most important group as a whole if we're going to do what we want to do. And that's because they do make such a big impact. Because if you just let guys run free, now the defensive line has to do their part, right, too. They've got to get pressure, but at the same time, you've got to cover receivers up. You got to play together, and you can't, if a guy just gets by you, he's just faster than you. That it is what it is. But if it's missed assignments, that's the reason that guys are getting open. That's what will be concerning. And so if they can just play together as a whole, I think that's going to really pay dividends for the defense, but also the secondary.
Yeah, Conrad, I think you bring up a good point. As far as cornerbacks and safeties, I know they're 2 distinct groups. I thought, how did you guys feel last year's performance? Who was better for you, cornerbacks or safeties? If we exclude the star, let's just say field safety and boundary, and then the 2 cornerbacks that you had. Which group struggled more last year?
I think it had to be corners.
More.
Yeah, I would say corner. I mean, I have more memorable moments of safeties making plays.
Yeah, like CJ had some big moments. Brendan Jordan had some moments.
And it was well documented. Like when Braylon Lux missed, our defense was one of the
ACU.
worst defenses. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So I feel like
Yep.
outside of him, the corners didn't have much. In the safeties, at least Baskerville played, I think, all 12 games, and he was solid.
Yeah. And that's where, so when you go to the back end, you bring back, so Brendan Jordan is a guy that's moved around a little bit. He's played nickel. He played there a lot last year, and now he's moving to safety, which I think is probably a more natural position. But your starters, you lose CJ Baskerville, you lose Devin Cromwell. Cromwell wasn't a starter. Chapman Lewis was your starter. And then, if you're not aware, Chapman Lewis is going to miss the first 8 games of the season. They're going to redshirt him due to the injury he sustained in the Arkansas game. So you won't see him until the last 4 games of the Big 12 season. So it'll be Cole Wisniewski, and then it'll be Brendan Jordan starting back there in all likelihood. I like Cole. I like BJ. I don't know that is a huge upgrade, if a upgrade, over healthy CJ Baskerville, healthy Chapman Lewis last year. I don't know how you guys feel about that, though.
I will refuse to slander the White Knight on this podcast. So I think it's a massive upgrade. I think Cole Wisniewski's going to be the best player on the team. So,
and he's good. Like, I like Cole. You just haven't seen him do it at this level. And then BJ, another position move, and he's been fine. He just hasn't been great yet, the true junior. So it's his 3rd year. He's got room to develop. But that's not a room that I look at and think, oh, wow, yeah, this room is totally set. They're going to have no issues at all. Because after that, you look at the depth behind those 2 guys, and you're looking at, I think it's going to be 2 redshirt freshmen. I think it's Malik Esquera and Oliver Miles will be the backups there. So that's a sneaky, like, not as, if Cole and BJ don't work out, what are you doing there? That's a room that I've kind of got my eye on, that I want to see perform really well in those first 3 games.
any thoughts, Conrad or Clay, on that? I mean, in all seriousness, for me, I mean, I think I was impressed with CJ last year. And I did think
too.
that he had a really good year, but I'm excited about this group. I think Brendan Jordan's got a ton of talent. And I mean, I know I said with Cole, I don't actually, think he's the best player on the team, but I think he can be highly effective. And I do think that North Dakota State, you talk about program guys, like guys that know what success tastes like, that want to come into the building and be a leader and show that, hey, this is how you perform. Because North Dakota State has had championships. Like, he's experienced championships, and that's something that no one else on the roster really has, especially returning, right? So I'm excited for his leadership. I think he's going to fit in really well. He seems like a big piece to this puzzle for the defense, and I'm excited to watch him play.
Yeah, and the other piece, so something that I think really hindered your defense, so in 2022, McGuire's first year, you had obviously a lot of really good players, Tyree Wilson being chief among them. But a guy that I think was underappreciated was Muddy Waters, Marquise Waters, who played that star position. He's by far the best one that you had play that position in the time that DeRuiter was here. And you never really found an answer for that. You hoped that it would be CJ Baskerville, and it just never really worked for him. He was better suited as a safety. That's something where they're taking a huge swing, and they're moving Michael Dingle. They're converting a linebacker, and they're putting him at that star position, which is going to be kind of the 4th linebacker. And it's him and AJ McCarty. Now, neither of those guys have graded out super well. Mikel Dingle grades out like perfectly average right there. But if you grade out his pass rush grade, it's one of the top pass rushing grades for a linebacker in the country. Unbelievable pass rush grade. Everything else after that, like his coverage grade, is terrible. It's like Ben Roberts level. And so that's like a really interesting high upside swing. Like, if they're using him in a lot of pass rushing situations and then figure out a way to get him to cover better, because he's fast, he's a really good hurdler. That's a swing that I really like, because I can see the vision of, hey, if this goes really, really well, this is going to be so freaking good. It's just, if it goes badly, oh man, I don't know that you have a great answer here.
Yeah, Clay, I mean, when you're looking at AJ McCarty, some of these guys, that we were expecting to really improve last year, are you expecting with a new, we talk about, Shield Wood, and he's a new coach, new schemes, just different game plans. Are you feeling like these guys are going to make a pretty big jump? I mean, we asked this question with linebackers. We've talked about it with D-line. Do you feel like the secondary with Shield Wood is going to make a big jump? Like, what was it, coaching? I know obviously a lot of talk about DeRuyter last year and different things, but do you feel like just with a new coach, it might be refreshing for some of these new guys to step in and improve?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, that's one thing that I've failed to kind of like evaluate this offseason sometimes is thinking about like how these new schemes will work and how player strengths will fit into them. But I'd echo everything that Zyler said about Dingle. Like he, in some ways, reminds me of Muddy Waters in the way that he was so good at like crashing down on run plays and blowing up like
So
sweeps
good.
in the backfield. And so he does remind me of him in that way. Honestly, didn't know that his coverage grade was so bad, but you would hope that like new coach, new scheme can fix part of that. And Shield Wood definitely had inferior talent at Houston last year than what he'll have this year. And Houston had like a respectable defense. I don't know exactly what part of that was the safety specifically, but I would think that he would be able to see some improvement individually in each of these players just from his scheme.
Yeah, and I think that's where you're really going to see, if you see big improvements here, I think it'll be a lot on Shield Wood turning this into a really competent unit, because I think when you look at it, you zoom out and you see like, oh, Bryce Pollock, Maurian Horn, Cole Wisniewski, Dante, you see all these guys. You're like, oh yeah, this is going to work great. And you're like, okay, so how do these pieces all actually fit together? Who's going to play certain spots? It doesn't look as coherent. It looks way better zoomed out than it does when you zoom in. And that's where I think you're counting on Shield to make this really, really competent and a really good unit. The thing about Dingle, and I think Clayton made a great point, he's got the physical attributes to be a great cover linebacker. He's extremely fast. He's extremely quick. That's a grade that I think he can get better. It's not like some sort of physical limitation where he's, 6'4", 270. You're just never going to be able to move quickly. He's fast. He works really well in those situations. I think they've just got, this unit is the one that I am most concerned about on the defense, where I think the floor is probably the lowest. But I also think the upside, man, if Bryce Pollock hits and Maurian Horn hits, Wisniewski hits, if Dingle hits, like this is going to be an extremely disruptive secondary. I just think the delta between, bad and really good performance is incredibly wide here, like incredibly wide, and wider than probably any position group on this roster.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the point about Coach Wood is something that you really need to take into account with this group, because it's, last year it was just so, there were just so many missed assignments, so many, lapses in judgment. And I think that's where a guy like Coach Wood really comes in, because if he can make it simple and get these guys in the right positions, you're definitely going to see an improved unit. Just even with that happening, obviously you're going to have miscommunications. A guy's going to run open deep. I mean, it happens to everybody. But if you can mitigate that and have the team really play together, especially even with the talent you added, I think that's going to make a big difference to this unit just being what we know it can be, and that's average to above average. I think we've got all the talent there to have that happen. It just all needs to come together, and that's why you go get a Shield Wood. That's why on the offensive side of the ball, you go replace Kitley with a left witch. I mean, that's why you go get these coaches, because like we talked about earlier, I mean, the coaches that you have make a huge difference in your scheme and your players and the success of your players. And so I have full confidence that Coach Wood's going to put the guys in the right spot. And when that happens, I think you're going to see an improved unit here with the secondary in 2025. And I think that's all you need. But I also think looking back and zooming in a little bit at the defensive line, the front seven, you just have a competent group that can get some pressure. You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be okay. These guys' jobs is gonna be a lot easier than it was last year. I think that's something we don't always take into account, is how difficult it was to play secondary when you don't get any pressure on the passer.
Yeah, and Conrad, I know you weren't on the D-line episode, but we talked about that. We said that if the D-line can make every other position group on the defense have less pressure on them. If they get to the quarterback, you don't have to cover as long. The linebackers don't have to cover as long. They don't have the pressure to get there because your edges and your defensive tackles are blowing up the line of scrimmage. And so that's something that will hopefully also improve the secondary. But Z, I agree with you. I think this group needs to do better. I mean, what was the defense ranked last year total? Was it 134th out of 136?
It's last year. Don't bring that up, please.
Which counting stats is not fair. I'll look at what did you do? Go ahead. I'll find it.
Yeah. So I mean, but my point is that you obviously weren't good, and it doesn't take much to improve. And so how much improvement do we need to see from the secondary to define major success? Is it top 75? Is it top 50? Is it top 110? Because that's not what you were in last year. So like you're going to be better just on the sheer premise that you really can't get much worse. But it's like, how good can this group really be is the question. And I think
you finished 92nd in defense and SP plus.
That's better than I thought.
Terrible.
Okay, terrible. Yeah, it is bad. Better than I thought.
But fun fact, you were not the worst defense in the Big 12. Who was the worst defense in the Big 12? Does anybody know?
I think wasn't it Oklahoma State?
Yeah. You are correct.
Nice,
it was
Clay.
the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And they were not that much worse than you were.
Yeah. So exactly. You were bad. And
battle for the bottom.
And yeah, it was
so and that's the thing. I think that's a bigger point. Most analytics are projecting you to jump from in the 90s on defense to in the 50s, which would be a humongous turnaround.
Yeah.
That's a huge turnaround. Is that enough for you to get where you want to go as a team? And you're saying, yeah, we're going to jump 40 spots. Most of our fans, I feel like, are expecting like a top 20 defense. That is a huge leap to go from 92nd to top 20. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen, but I mean, 92nd to 50 would be a huge leap, would be over expectations.
When you bring in
like the reason,
or go ahead, Clay.
I was going to say, I feel like the reason it feels doable is because it's almost an entire new group. Like you have a new defensive line, you have a new D coordinator.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Because you brought in huge dudes, like you brought in big boys, you brought the guns, and so they could.
I don't want to play.
I don't know. Play devil's advocate. Let Kim Coulter's going to be on you in the comments after.
I know. So the thing that shocked me is you came out initially and it said your offense was top 10 and your defense was top 50. If you asked me which unit I felt more confident finishing in top 10 at the beginning of the season, I would feel more confident in the defense. So there's my positive take. The thing that I think of, it's you bring in a lot of new guys, let's say 4 new starters on the defensive line, a new starting cornerback, and a new starting safety. So you're bringing in 6 new starters. I mean, it's not like you're completely changing the defense. I mean, it's Mo Horn's back, Jacob Rodriguez is back, Ben Roberts is back. You have Brendan Jordan back. You have Michael Dingle, AJ McCarty. It's not like it's 11 new starters and 10 new depth pieces. It's 6 new starters. It's not a complete overhaul, but the most important position is entirely overhauled, where it's 5 to 6 new guys that are going to be completely new.
And I feel like that was the main driver of how bad we were last year. Like we could get no pressure on the quarterback.
You'd send 4, you'd send 5, didn't matter.
It starts and ends with the defensive line. Like they'll make everybody better. And so
it's all about the trenches.
And so Z, it starts in the trenches. Wasn't that our thumbnail? It starts in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And dude, I'm sorry, I cannot stop looking at Z with his mouth. I'm like, I'm
very swollen.
And by the way, if you are listening, we did record this episode on top of Thursday's episode, so we're into the second episode of this evening, and Zyler has undergone a mouth procedure, and it's obviously, even though you're listening to episode 4 days later, his mouth is not healed in the 30 minutes that we recorded last episode. So you're pushing through, dude. You look great, by the way. It looks
Brennan, I really do appreciate that. Thank you a ton.
You look
I'm bleeding in my mouth if anybody cares. So.
Anything for the
bleeding
show.
For the Broadway Shuffle.
Have you guys ever have you all ever played that game Pterodactyl? Like where you can't. Y'all have never played where it's like you can't talk. Okay, you played a game where you have to talk without showing your teeth. Have you ever like calling all vegetables? Yeah,
should we do that?
Yeah, and you go you say your praise, or something. That's how Z looks right now. Y'all have never played Pterodactyl? Wow.
No.
You guys had no fun. No. You guys had no fun in school.
Me and Clayton grew up in Lubbock. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. It didn't reach West Texas. But anyways, I do think that with the secondary, it is just essential to improve. I don't think you got to be a top 20 unit on the secondary side. But you got to, let's say the secondary is 100 and improvement is 15 spots. Okay, then you got to be 85 in the second, in terms of a metric just for the secondary. It's got to improve even with the new D line and the linebacker returning core and a new defensive coordinator, because the D-line's not going to get there every time. And if, when you do play against good O-lines like Utah, Arizona State potentially, and then if you get to the playoff and you do play a Bama or a Penn State or whoever in the first round, like those guys are going to have guys that can block you. They're going to have offensive linemen that will be drafted in the first round, and your secondary is still going to have to cover. Like they're going to have to cover throughout the course of the season. It's not always going to be David Bailey or Romello Hyde or Lee Hunter in the backfield. So
could you imagine this defensive backfield against like Ryan Williams?
Yes, dude. Ryan Williams is a bum.
Ooh, hot take.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
What about Jeremiah Smith? What about Jeremiah Smith?
Jeremiah Smith is not a bum. Certified dude. I'm trading all of my assets to try to get him in my dynasty league in 2027. I'm tanking
in our dynasty league.
No, not
all
in ours.
4 of us.
Oh, you're another one. You're another one.
Okay. Brennan, I think you make an interesting point. It's just so much of this defensive, and we'll do a defensive recap. So much of your improvement, and Clayton made a good point too. Your units looked worse because there was a serious deficit in one of your particular units, and a lot of it was injury related. You lost Spencer, you lost Adedire, you lost Duda Banks, you lost who am I forgetting? Several other edge guys.
Isaac Smith
and some interior
too.
Isaac Smith, you lost a couple other guys you were third and fourth string toward the end of the season, and it makes your other units look worse. It really does. It's like, having a bad quarterback, receivers are not going to put up numbers. How do you evaluate the Houston receivers last year when you had, Zion Chris throwing you the ball? So I think there's something to be said for the unit being underrated with the returning pieces. Like maybe Mulhorn's actually really good. Maybe Brennan Jordan's actually really good. They just need to be in better situations. And that's where I think the upside case comes from is what if the defensive line is really good and you guys get to play in really advantageous situations 60 to 70% of the time? How much better are they going to look? That's where I think the upside case is. It just all hinges on that defensive line being like top 10 good in the country, top 5 good. And you just haven't seen that yet. You haven't seen these guys in a Texas Tech jersey against a team that's not their teammates.
Which to be fair, they're projected to be top 5 good.
Yeah.
They could be better.
Yeah.
They could be better. They're projected top 3 actually. If we're so in the nation, not in the conference.
Everything hinges on the defensive line.
Yeah.
I really think that you can make that and not be hyperbolic is saying that the defensive line is paramount.
Yeah.
For this unit's success. I think you can almost make a case that it's more important than quarterback.
And we said
I won't go quite that far.
I think we didn't say, like, we debated that on the defensive line episode, that it was outside of quarterback, your most important position group.
Without a doubt.
Yeah,
which,
for sure.
To be fair, is 4 positions. So, that's tricky. But
it's 4 on 1. Yeah. So anyways, okay, well, let's get to kicker. Let's get to special teams, man. The punters and kickers need love. Shout out to Pat McAfee. He'll be on the show soon. I've reached out to his people. When game day's in Lubbock for the BYU weekend, we can maybe get Pat on the show. But
both Pats on the show. Both Pats.
Yeah, we'll get that too. We got some exciting. I can't divulge every secret we're working on behind the scenes on the Broadway Shuffle.
Come on,
we don't just get on here and record. We think about this show all the time.
Yeah, we work. This is our livelihood. So please subscribe. So Jack Burgess is your punter. He's back. And you got a kid from Buffalo, man. You know me. I love Buffalo. So Upton Belenfant. He sounds like he should be in Pride and Prejudice. He is your new kicker. And Z, you're excited about this group. Tell us why you think you're excited.
Okay, so he was good. Okay, so one, I just think our special teams has been engaging in what I thought Joey did a lot of in 22 and in 23, not as much in 24. Just positive expected value decision making. All of our little 2-point conversion attempts where we line up and make everybody run out there, and we do stuff that's kind of annoying, and rarely do we run it, but we got some serious advantages from that this year. The Arizona game was a big example of that, where you were able to get an extra 2 points. And we've just done stuff like that. Now, you've had your Dre McRae fumbles and your kickoff return issues, but outside of the Baylor game last year, you really just haven't had too many special teams miscues that I can think of being extremely detrimental to the outcome of the game. I think of Drew Hokut fumbling the punt against NC State in 2022, and I think of the Baylor game and the special teams. Outside of that, it's been really, really good. No complaint. That's the thing that's really nice about special teams is when you don't really talk about it. You don't want special teams to be the reason you lose a lot of games by 3 points or 4 points or something like that, where you leave a lot of points on the board. Upton's been a guy that played at Buffalo last year. He was really good for them. I know, and this is the thing that kind of gave me pause. He was 18 for 21 in field goals last year, 31 for 31 in PATs. And then in the spring game, man, it was like him and Stone Harrington were like shanking extra points, missing field goals. And maybe that happens. You get such a small sample size, and you brought in another kicker. You brought in the kid that lost the Arizona State job. So he'll be in here too as a backup kicker and field goal specialist. So I'm not entirely sure what happened there. There's no reason for me to doubt Upton, but that was just an odd late addition to bring in an additional kicker that kind of has my eyebrow raised. Gino Garcia was really good. Criminally underrated piece for your unit. Was just absolute nails for most of your field goals. I think it should still be a strong unit for this year. Just a little bit more unknown on some of these pieces.
Conrad, kicker will lead you to a Big 12 championship, yes or no? As in, obviously not like production.
Lead you.
Like they will, be the reason you win. Like it comes down to a field goal. Trust in the kicking unit.
It's no. I don't want to rely on the kicking unit. I want to win a Big 12 title by double digits. I don't want it to be a nail biter. I think I don't know. I mean, what Zyler said, that late addition from a guy that lost the Arizona State job, that is concerning. I mean, maybe you just want depth, but to add a roster piece or to add someone to your roster that will take a spot from another position at the kicker spot is just kind of interesting to me. And so I think Gino was great last year really underrated, like Zyler said, but I just don't want to leave the game in the hands of on the foot of a kicker. I would like to do more than that. Not that kickers aren't capable and can't make kicks. I mean, Upton can and did last year, but I'd prefer to leave it on, I don't know, Baron Morton's right arm.
That's fair. Clay.
Yeah.
Next question. No, I'm kidding. Jack Burgess will be the reason. Special teams. Let's go to returners. Who is not to skip over punter? Jack's great. I think Jack will be great.
Jack will be good.
And hopefully you don't have to
He's
punt. He's never going to see the field. Jack, enjoy the bench, buddy. We don't want to see you. You're the.
What color Gatorade are you drinking, Jack?
Yeah, let us know.
That's the question.
Yeah. Returner. Who is Micah? Like, are we going to see Micah maybe in kick returner and punt returner? I mean, who do you?
Yeah, I think so.
Who are we going to see as the dynamic guy?
Isn't it Jacoby?
I think Jacoby Williams. It's right. It's Jacoby and Micah are going to be back there. Cameron Dickey. And then Jacoby's going to be your punt returner too. Roy Alexander, Micah Hudson, AJ McCarty. So you're going to have some guys. Dude, I love the idea. If Jacoby can field punts, he's going to be an electric punt returner.
Yeah, he's dynamic.
And he's got this speed to be awesome.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
I think that'd be a great way to get Micah involved too. I mean, I just think obviously Jacoby with his speed, Micah doesn't have that kind of speed. I mean, very few people have the speed that Jacoby does, but if you could get Micah, like if Micah is able to do those things, kick or punt, I just think that'd be a great way to get him involved. Hopefully he plays at receiver too and plays well, but I think that'd be a great avenue to get his hands on the football because he is a dynamic playmaker when the ball is in his hands.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, that'll be interesting. That's about all the time we're going to spend on punters and kickers and kick returners. But
hopefully that's all we talk about.
It's hopefully all. Yeah. Hopefully they're so good next year we can just sing their praises for 12 weeks come the fall. So, all right. Well, let's close the show with our Tommy.
16 weeks, Brennan.
You're right. Sorry, I forgot about the college football playoff. Let's get to Tommy Tubberville's of the week. I'm excited for this. If you're new, this is one of our favorite segments on the show where we go through our frauds of the week. So Z, you had a great one last week, arguably the best one we've ever had on the show. How are you going to back that one up this week?
So I had two options. And I think I'm making a late pivot. I was going to go with ESPN on their coverage of, Rider Lions and the 5-star stuff, but I'm actually going to go Robert Behrens. He's a Texas A&M beat reporter, and he willingly outed Kyle Field is just not being that good of a place to play. He was saying that the best indicator of home performance versus, how important is home field advantage is, he explained to people that A&M currently in the past decade versus ranked teams on the road is 0-13 versus ranked teams at Kyle Field 2-10. Or 12-10, excuse me. And then you went and looked at the ATS numbers, and they're exactly 500 against in all of those games. Kyle Field has pretty much no points above expectation based on what gamblers think of the spot. And he gave a lot of data that basically outed that Kyle Field really doesn't have that big of a home field advantage. So, Robert Behrens, you are my Tommy Tubberville of the week for kind of outing Kyle Field as being a Tommy Tubberville. So that's my Tommy Tubberville of the week.
That's a great
So he
one.
was trying to prove that it was a great place to play.
He proved that there's basically no statistical advantage to playing a home game at Kyle Field. A&M has been 500 against the spread since playing at Kyle Field in the last decade.
But he's an A&M beat reporter.
And what is work for Texags or something?
Yeah, he works for Texags.
Yeah, what a joke. Well, good. I'm glad A&M is average. Hey, schedule it, Joey. Let's get out there and kick them.
Let's get out there.
They would never. They would never.
They wouldn't allow it. All right, Clayto. Tommy, who you got?
My Tommy this week is Malika Andrews of ESPN. In the ESPN draft coverage, she announced the Blazers' 11th pick as Colin Cowherd instead of Cedric Coward. I'm assuming that's a mistake unless I missed Colin Cowherd's draft declaration. But congrats to the Blazers on getting their guard of the future after trading Anthony Simons. I'm looking forward to him suiting up next year. So
I hope Colin makes a comment on his show about that. That's funny.
Same.
ESPN, dude, they just can't figure it out. Like it's,
dude, they have the worst draft.
They have the worst draft coverage. They've got the worst. I mean, outside of game day, they've got the worst NBA. You got Kendrick Perkins doing your, like, you can't pick anybody else on Get Up. They've added the Morris twin. Like, dude, get some personality.
Who wanted to see Markieff Morris? Who wanted that?
Like, we don't. I have just whoever is the hiring coordinator or however it works at ESPN, like, come tell us how it works, because it doesn't make it any sense. They're so desperate. They're letting TNT produce inside the NBA still, just so they can put Charles, Shaq, and Kenny on their network next season on the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, the Broadway Shuffle's available for acquisition by ESPN.
I would refuse to work for ESPN.
That's probably
there is a dollar amount, and it's not that high, and I would work for ESPN.
What? Okay, fine. You're right.
Yeah.
Money talks.
Money does talk.
I'm greedy. If ESPN gave us like $20 each, I'd probably join.
We'd think about it. It would be seriously considered.
I'd think about it. All right, Conrad, who is your Tommy Tubberville of the week?
Yeah, I mean, the Tommy Tubberville segment since we started has really been a segment that I think we've had a lot of fun on it, and I think it's something that we didn't. I don't think we expected it to be as big of a hit as it was. I mean, we've had, so many people reach out to us about who you going to pick this week, who you going to pick that week, and a lot of people, at least in the last week, have asked me when are you gonna go away from Shedeur Sanders? And the answer is never. I'm never going to stop.
There's no way.
I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to stop talking about Shedeur Sanders. I mean, I think it's well documented why I picked him, but Shedeur is my Tommy of the week until I decide to go elsewhere. So, Shedeur Sanders, you are my Tommy Tubberville of the week.
Did you talk about him getting a ticket?
He got a ticket?
He got 2 tickets. He got 2.
You haven't seen that? Conrad, you haven't seen this?
Dude, he got 2 speeding tickets.
I haven't.
He got booked like going 112 and a 50.
Yeah.
For example A. There we go. I mean, I don't. What more do you need? I didn't even know that. Zeke, he just gives me ammunition.
Yeah, you just given Conrad enough ammunition to let Shedeur be his Tommy until 2030. Then
Can we call it? Can we change the name of the Tommy Tubberville of the week to the Shedeur Sanders of the week? I mean, I feel like
Shedeur was so good as a college quarterback.
The NFL didn't think so.
It wasn't entirely.
He's gonna start week 1. He'll be starting week 1. I'd give it like a 35% chance.
Oh, I think he will, and I think it'll be like watching Johnny Manziel 2.0 in Cleveland.
The Browns owners are gonna force Jimmy Haslam. He needs his team to be marketing well. So, okay, yep. I'm torn on what to do, but I thought this was funny, and I'm gonna. not to get political, I don't mean this in a political commentary, but you announce a ceasefire, and it's like this massive news. And then 6 hours later, there's more bombs. So my Tommy, it's like, is the ceasefire announcement. Because I see this, and then I wake up the next morning, and it's like, oh, more bombs are going on in the Middle East. So I'm not stating it as a political commentary. It's the news. It's whatever.
It's the word ceasefire. What does it mean?
What does it mean? Yeah, because I thought that meant it was over.
Words have no meaning anymore.
They have no meaning. And so my Tommy Tubberville of the week is the phrase ceasefire.
That's a great one.
I thought it was
that is a good one.
And so that happened. So yeah, that's my Tommy Tubberville of the week.
I like it, Brennan.
I don't know what it means at this point, but I think it's over.
It's very tough.
We'll find out. So anyways, good.
Tune into the Broadway Shuffle to find out.
Yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back in a week, or on Thursday, and we'll let you know. So anyways, that was fun, guys. We'll be back. Well, are we done with position groups now? I think we are.
Yeah, we'll do an offense and a defensive recap, but by the time you're listening to this episode, we're 9-ish weeks or less than 9. Yeah, you'll be less than 9 weeks away from the season starting. So you're going to have fall camp reports. You're going to have media days coming up. We're going to have a lot of neat stuff coming up to talk about.
Yeah, it's fun. We've got a lot of stuff. I know we were teasing it on the episode, but we're working on behind the scenes as well that'll be coming out before football season. We're looking forward to that as well, too. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything that the Broadway Shuffle is coming out with as we get into the most hyped Texas Tech football season, arguably of all time. So for Conrad, Zyler, and Clayton, I am Brennan. We will see you guys next time on the Broadway Shuffle. Wreck 'em.